Paula. I just pulled up your icon set, and I think you are definitely off to a really good start. Okay. Um, I'm trying to think. At first, they almost seemed like they didn't go to me in terms of what the icon is, but then I'm thinking, well, maybe these are for a classroom, and they're the different subjects or different extracurricular activities people can do while they're at summer camp, or this is different sections of a library with the books. And so they can definitely go as long as in your mind they're a cohesive set for something. So they're a cohesive set of stickers that are going on, you know, your summer activity jars or at home or something. Okay, so maybe let me know what that is, and then conceptually I'll be able to say, oh yeah, these are totally a package, because visually they look, the red, the colors and the circles and the shapes, the way you've designed them, they definitely look like a package. But the actual content is a little like, oh, we have chemistry and drumming and an apple, which I'm not quite sure what subject the apple is, if that's snack time or, so help me out with what these are in terms of the overall goal that you're using these for. Okay, and that'll help me out a little bit. So I'll just talk a little bit about the actual technical side of it. I think because you are definitely off to a really good start with these circles. They're all vibrant colors, which I really love. I like that you did 6, so you're pushing yourself a little bit. So you're off to a really good start on that. The one that stands out to me right now as needing a little bit more work is definitely the book. So see in this one how you kind of have these clean lines a little bit more, and the shapes are all similar. You may have used the same shape and just scaled it down a little bit. This one is super clean as well. So this one is getting away from that a little bit, which is probably hard with a book. So what I would encourage you to do is maybe kind of Google and see if you can find something just for inspiration that's a book. Okay, so let's look at these. How did they kind of take a book and make it a little bit more angular? So they have this clean line in the background. It's really nice, crisp square. And then they have matching shapes here. See how these are probably at the same angles? And so take a look at things like this and see if you can find some inspiration when it comes to how to make a book look really crisp and cohesive and angular. Like your other ones do. Think about the shapes and kind of prioritize having those shapes take center stage. You could do something like this. You have a little bit of added difficulty because you're doing it in all white. So maybe try and see if you can find an icon set where the book is mostly in white, or maybe something like this would be good inspiration. Okay, so see like this. All right, so try to find something that you can say, okay, so this is how they took a book and they made that book work as an icon set with nice crisp angles and clean. And I see you mirrored the shape on the outside, which is interesting. So think about if this was an actual book, you may not be able to see the line on the top, right? Because it would be 3-dimensional. So it would have, maybe you would only see that undercover on the bottom. Okay, so one thing see this one, see how you can only see the undercover on the bottom on the 3 sides. You can't see at the top because it has dimension. So one thing that always helps me is checking out other designs to see how they did something that I want to do successfully, because these lines on the page are a little bit too drawn in looking. When you think about scaling that down, you're going to lose those. Those are going to disappear when this gets really small. Okay, now something else, these look really fun and fresh, but something you could play around with doing is adding like this shadow to them, a shadow shape that would kind of make them pop on the page and have a little bit of dimension as well. And then I would mostly work on your angles. Okay, so see this paintbrush. See how the left side of it is more curved than the right side of it. So you want to zoom in closely to these shapes. Look at it. Look at this drum. if you had a real drum, would it be completely flat on the bottom like this, or would it be curved like your top circle? Okay, so think about things like that. And then like the bottom of this apple, you know, would there be a different kind of shape here? How would you show a little bit of dimension with an apple? Maybe you have this cool outer white line that I actually think is a neat idea. So maybe on all of these you add an element of dimension by having a thinner white line or a thinner gray. Gray would look really good with all these colors. A gray line, or maybe you do that pulled shadow effect or something. Once you zoom in and really crisp up the way these are shaped and formed. This one I don't think you would have a lot to do with. This one I don't think you have too much work. These two are pretty straightforward. These three need to be cleaned up just a little bit in terms of the shaping of them. And then this one kind of needs the most work, making sure it looks crisp and clean. But I do like that you added this kind of, you know, element, an outer white line. So you could play around with that. You could make this a different color, and maybe this is all dark gray, and on each shape you have a kind of shadow behind it to give it dimension. You could not avoid not pulling it off the page, but just add like one line. Or maybe it's a color from over here. Maybe these two are complementary. You have orange, a little extra orange element here, a little extra yellow here. You know, these two might go well together, and these two. Okay, so, or these two and these two. But play around with that. See what's the next interesting idea you can add. If you decide you don't like it, you like a more fresh and only white, I think that's totally, you know, a good design choice as well. But just mostly work on making these shapes realistic. And I may increase the size of this width in between these two a little bit, so it's a little bit more consistent with the width here, because that's one of the most important things, is when these get small, is this going to become just a white circle, and this is going to maintain a drum shape. Okay, you want to make sure when they get super tiny, when they're, you know, the size of just this paintbrush top right here, the actual brush part, when they're this size, can you tell it's still a paintbrush? Okay, so start thinking in that direction. These are off to a really strong start, and I'm looking forward to seeing as you work on them this week what you're able to do to take them to that next professional level. Okay, thanks so much, Paula.